stranger gave me a letter. What I read changed my life. The day that didn't feel right. I remember that morning vividly. Not because the sun was shining brighter, or because the birds sang a different song. No, it was quite the opposite. Everything felt off. My alarm didn't go off. I spilled coffee on my only clean white shirt. And I missed the bus by about 4 seconds, just enough to watch it pull away from the stop while I stood there, helpless and half-soaked from a passing car that had splashed through a puddle. I sighed and muttered, "Great, just great," before pulling out my phone to order a rideshare. Late for work again. My boss had already warned me once. One more slip, and I'd be on the review list, which was basically corporate speak for, "You're one mistake away from getting fired." While waiting for my ride, I leaned against the brick wall of the convenience store near the bus stop. I closed my eyes for just a moment, trying to breathe through the stress. That's when I felt someone near me. I opened my eyes, and there he was. An older man, maybe in his 60s, wrinkled face, neatly trimmed gray beard, wearing a navy blue coat that had clearly seen better days. But there was something kind in his eyes, something that didn't feel threatening or strange, just present. He smiled. I nodded politely, unsure what else to do. Then he spoke softly. "You look like someone who needs this." Before I could ask what he meant, he held out a folded piece of paper, yellowed slightly at the edges, like it had been tucked away for years. Without waiting for me to react, he placed it in my hand, turned, and walked away. I called out, "Hey, wait," but he was already down the block, disappearing into the early morning fog. I looked at the paper in my hand. Just a single fold. No name. No seal. No reason why a total stranger would hand it to me. Part of me wanted to toss it, but curiosity had always been my weakness. I unfolded it slowly, and that's when my world shifted. The letter. The letter read, "If you're reading this, it means the timing was just right. Maybe your life isn't where you want it to be. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you've been surviving so long, you forgot how to live. But I want you to know something. You're not a mistake. Your pain is not meaningless, and your story is far from over. There is more to you than you can see right now. The world has tried to convince you that your worth is measured by your productivity, your bank account, your job title, your past mistakes. That is a lie. You are more than what happened to you. You are more than the silence of unanswered prayers. You are more than the rejections, the losses, the nights you cried quietly so no one would hear. You matter. And there's something inside you that the world desperately needs. Don't give up now. The road ahead may not be easy, but it will be worth it. Let this letter be your turning point. A stranger believes in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. I didn't know what to feel. My fingers trembled slightly. The morning noise around me faded into silence. It felt like time had paused. Who wrote this? How did they know? I read it again, then a third time. By the fourth, tears blur my vision. That letter said everything I had never admitted out loud. It didn't fix everything, no, but cracked something open. Something that had been locked away behind years of shame, fear, and self-doubt. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel so alone. Unraveling. The rideshare came, but I didn't go to work. I told the driver to take me somewhere quiet. I needed space to think. He dropped me off at the city park, a place I used to love as a kid. I walked toward the old stone bench near the pond and sat, the letter still in my hand. That's when I started to unravel. Not fall apart in a hopeless way, but in a necessary way. The way an old sweater unravels so it can be re-knitted into something new. I thought about my life, the past few years. How I had slowly stopped dreaming. How I had settled into survival mode. Working a job I hated, surrounded by people who didn't know the real me because I was too afraid to let them in. I thought about the ambitions I once had, to write, to travel, to build a life I actually wanted to wake up to. When did I give all that up? The letter didn't give me answers, but it gave me permission. Permission to feel again, to ask questions again, to hope again. And sometimes that's all we need. Digging deeper. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I journaled. Not just about the letter, but everything. The buried disappointments. The silent battles. The dreams I'd folded away and stuffed in a mental drawer labeled, maybe someday. Then I wrote down one question at the top of the page. What if my life could change? That question haunted me, in the best way. because somewhere inside me, I realized it could. Not overnight, not easily, but maybe, just maybe, the life I longed for wasn't impossible, just untapped. Over the next few weeks, I read the letter every morning. It became my ritual, my anchor. I found myself making different choices, small ones at first. I applied for a new job, not because I was confident I'd get it, but because I no longer believed I was trapped. I started talking to my sister again. We hadn't spoken in 2 years after a fallout over something neither of us remembered clearly. I started saying yes to things I usually avoided. An art class at the community center, an open mic night at the bookstore, a road trip with old friends. Life didn't become perfect, but I started feeling alive again. And the letter? It stayed in my wallet, folded neatly like a quiet promise. The search for the stranger. It wasn't long before I became obsessed with finding the man who gave me the letter. Who was he? Why me? Had he done this for others? I asked around near the bus stop, but no one seemed to recognize my description. I printed a small note and pinned it to the convenience store bulletin board. To the man who gave me a letter outside this store a few weeks ago, thank you. You changed my life. If you ever see this, I'd love to talk. Weeks passed, then months. No reply. Maybe I'd never find him. But I realized something. It didn't matter. Because maybe he was never meant to stay. Maybe he was just meant to pass through, like an angel in an old story. Someone sent for a single purpose. To plant a seed. And oh, did it grow, becoming the letter. A year had passed since that rainy morning. A year since a stranger handed me a folded piece of paper that rewrote the script of my life. And in that time, I had done what once seemed impossible. I changed. I left the job I hated and started freelancing as a writer. It wasn't easy at first, and some months were tough. But I felt like I was finally building something that belonged to me. I took care of my mental health. I started therapy. I confronted wounds I had buried under years of pretending everything was fine. I forgave people. I forgave myself. I made new friends. Let go of toxic ones. I even fell in love with someone who saw all of me and didn't flinch. But more than anything, I started helping others. You see, that letter was never really just for me. It was for anyone who had ever felt like they were drowning in silence. Anyone who needed to hear that their life still had meaning. So I made copies. I wrote the words out by hand, just like they had appeared to me, and I began carrying them in my bag. Sometimes I'd leave one inside a library book, or under a coffee shop tip jar, or on the bus seat next to me. And sometimes when I saw someone who looked the way I once felt, tired, alone, invisible, I'd walk over, smile gently, and hand them a folded piece of paper. You look like someone who needs this, I'd say, just like he had said to me. Full circle. One autumn afternoon, as golden leaves danced in the wind, I returned to that park bench by the pond, the place where I had first begun to breathe again. I sat with my journal, reflecting on how different my life looked now, how much I had grown, how that one letter had shattered the illusion that I was stuck forever. As I packed my bag to leave, I noticed someone approaching from the walking path, a young woman, probably in her 20s. Her eyes were red, her shoulders slumped. She sat on the far end of the bench, exhaling a quiet sigh that was all too familiar. I didn't say anything at first, but then I felt it, that gentle nudge. The same one I imagined the stranger had felt the morning he found me. So I reached into my bag, pulled out a folded letter, and gently extended it to her. She hesitated, but took it. She looked up at me. What is it? I smiled softly. It helped me once. Maybe it'll help you too. She unfolded the letter. Her lips moved silently as she read the words. I stood to leave, but as I turned, she whispered, "Thank you." I didn't turn around. I just nodded and walked away the same way he had. A letter for you. Now, maybe you're wondering why I'm telling you all this. Why this story matters. Why a single piece of paper could hold so much power. It's simple. Because someone gave me a letter once. A stranger who didn't know my name, my past, or my battles, but who saw something in me. Something worth reaching out to. And now, I want to do the same for you. So here it is. Dear you, if you're reading this, it's not by accident. Maybe you're tired. Maybe life has knocked the breath out of you more times than you can count. Maybe you smiled for too long while breaking inside. But please remember this. Your story isn't over. You are still here, still fighting, still breathing. And that alone is something to be proud of. You have survived every bad day before this one. That means you are stronger than you think. There is light ahead. There is purpose still hidden in places you haven't yet explored. And no matter what the world tries to tell you, your life matters. So don't give up. Not today. Because there is someone out there, maybe even a stranger, who believes in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. With hope, a stranger. What I know now, I used to think life changed with big moments. Graduations, promotions, weddings, losses. But now I know better. Life often changes in quiet ways. In the softness of a sunrise, in the kindness of a stranger, in a single letter tucked into your hand on a rainy morning when everything feels like it's falling apart. Sometimes the smallest things carry the most weight. And sometimes one simple act of kindness can create a ripple that changes everything. I never saw the man who gave me that letter again, but I carry his words with me every day. And now, I carry the responsibility of passing them on. So if you've ever felt forgotten, unseen, or broken beyond repair, please hear me when I say this. You're not alone. You are worthy of love, of healing, and of a life that makes you feel alive. Your story is still being written. And one day, maybe you'll be the one handing a letter to someone else, because you'll know exactly how much it matters.